I know I had such a great transition that was shot down. I was seeing if there was any better transitions.
The vaccine mandates in schools.
Yeah, make it real greasy.
Actually, yeah, no. So I mean, there's not much to say, right? We've been bitching, or we've been talking about mandates for months now, and
Mhm.
I don't know. This one seems a little over eager for the simple fact that the mandate doesn't take effect until the FDA says it's okay. So it's kind of like, why don't you just wait till the FDA says
Yeah,
something, and then we get a little bit of research and clinical studies and I don't know, some information before we mandate things?
I don't know.
I can
Like
see that.
for me, like you know where I stand, Ethan. Like I'm okay with vaccination mandates at a certain point, but like the number
I
one thing
just
that we should be vaccinating for right now is at least at the bare minimum healthcare workers.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So I just want one person in this world
Mhm.
to explain to me why kids are so at risk that we need to inject medication into them where we have no idea about long-term effects at all. I know this sounds really mean, but old people don't have to worry about long-term effects like children do, right?
Mhm.
So nobody batted an eye when you inject a bunch of old people with experimental medication. But I think we just need a second, think a second before we give it to children.
Otherwise, they'll be listening to the commercials late at night saying, "Were you given the COVID-19 vaccine between the ages of this and this? If so, you may be entitled to compensation." And that's the last thing we want, especially for our children.
Yeah,
I get
that's
it.
true.
I think that, once it's kind of given like the stamp of approval, I think that would be another conversation. But
Mhm.
I can see that a mandate is premature at this time because we just don't have the necessary information. Like I feel like maybe they're trying to make it like a stepping stone in that direction, but I don't think that's the way to go about it. I think we should really pour all of our eggs into the basket of research first and make sure that it's safe. But overall, the effects of COVID, I mean, even long COVID, this study's going to take 4 more years to complete the effects of COVID itself. So, like, I guess parents have to weigh the risk of like, what's worse, the possible side effects of this vaccination or the possible side effects of long COVID in the long
Mhm.
run. So like what's the difference of the two? And as a parent, like that's a hard decision to make.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I could never, I can stand on my soapbox and preach, but I don't know how you could make that decision, right? Like we don't see it really affecting children that much so far, right? We don't like again, we don't know the long-term effects.
Well, every day or every month that goes by that scientists continue to peer review and study COVID-19, they find more information. Like, I don't remember the number, but it's like 1 in 6 men will develop ED from the effects of COVID-19, and that's something to think about.
Not me. Ew.
You
But
and your
again, yeah,
magical
I mean,
blood.
there is so much that we don't know, and that's when it comes down to it. If you don't know, it's better just to take a step back, right? Take a
Hmm.
step
Yeah.
back and observe, because even then, we're not going to have true data on the long-term effects of the vaccine. Like we've tainted the data pool numerous times, and then I know it's the next topic, and we're not there yet, but the pills that NJ was talking about too, like that also taints the data pool, right? Like, there's a lot of variants that we're throwing in, plus the natural variants, and I don't see how mandating any of this is going to help the situation at all.
Well,
Actually, that Merrick pill is a treatment for COVID. So
hmm,
it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, it's a treatment, not like a preventative. It's
yeah.
if you get COVID, it'll help you. Which actually is made by the same company who makes Invenerson, the medicine that
The horse.
Yeah.
Ivermectin.
Ivermectin.
Yeah, whatever. Scientific name. The horse medicine. Thank you.
So
Keith.
real quick, my backwoods mother, a few weeks ago, before I'd even heard about
saw it
it
on
and what it was
Facebook.
being used for it. Yeah, she saw it on Facebook. She's like, "What do you guys think of this?" And I did a quick Google search. She's like, "What is this medicine?" It's a horse medicine. Mother, do not take this.
Yeah, the company website actually says like there's no study or research to show blah blah blah. But luckily they did come up with an antiviral pill. I don't know. I actually didn't research that topic as much as I did the Blue Origins one, so I don't have a lot of information about it. But I can see what you're saying about it. Like, there's so many different variations going on. So like for this pool, it's like, okay, you have your control of people who are unvaccinated, right? Then you have your people who are vaccinated with Pfizer, then Moderna, then Johnson & Johnson. Then you have the people who actually got vaccinated, then still got COVID, and what were their effects? So there's so many different if this, then that's, that it's going to take a while for us to study. And what was like the right course of action.
Well, yeah, I mean Monday morning quarterback, right? It's always easier for all of us. But again, the message that has been presented to me, right, is I've heard the president say we have a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Our patients are wearing thin with you, right? And then the news coverage that comes out about all this stuff is like today,
So,
they're like, oh, we crossed 700,000 deaths. Why are you trying to scare me with the number 700,000, right? Like, yeah, that's a big number. But when we started this, you told me there was going to be 2 million deaths. So to me, if I look at the situation, I go, everything we've done up to this point, we've prevented at least 70% of the expected deaths. Why are we not looking at any of this as a good thing, right? Like, when was the last positive thing you heard about coming out about COVID, right? Like, we beat this, or we were able to stop this, or we did flatten that curve, you know? Like, where's the positive reinforcement to help people transition when somebody like me, I only see negative about all it, like a negative attack ads.
I think that that's the side is kind of saying these 700,000 could have been prevented had you been vaccinated. But I can also see that same narrative be kind of like, oh, this is a your fault type of like finger pointing when we don't really know that yet.
Yeah.
Like when we started this, they said we need 2 weeks to flatten the curve or 2 million Americans will be dead. Like that, you can Google it. Fauci said it. Multiple people have said
Yeah.
that, right? Like that was the narrative that we started on. So to be 2 years in and we're only what 30% of that, I see that as a positive, not a negative. When you say that number 700, from the start point, I see that as a positive result, not a negative result that many people have passed, right? Like it was gonna be a lot more. It was gonna be 3, 4, 6 times that number, but because we encourage people to get vaccinated, because we socially distance, we were able to do this, and it proves your work a lot better than to say, well, 700,000 have died, and the rest of them will die unless you take the shot right now.
Well, people are going around and getting fake vaccination cards. I mean, I saw like 3 things by Tizzy Entertainment on TikTok about people posting their vaccination cards in a TikTok and saying, guess what? I'm not vaccinated. I got one of these.
But why do they need those? Like, why have we pushed people to that limit already?
I think this is really just a challenging view of perspectives.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, no, again, I think, moving forward, when are we going to start moving past the pandemic portion of this, right?
I don't think
And
we
then
ever will. Oh, sorry.
well,
Go
then
ahead.
it's endemic, and then I mean, not to point at y'all, but y'all have been pretty strict about following the guidelines and doing everything. I mean, have you regretted waiting this long to? I mean, because y'all kind of waited until y'all went through COVID before y'all branched out a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all just
Yeah.
went on y'all's big vacation, and I don't think y'all would have done that 4 months ago.
Hell
Yeah,
no,
no.
definitely not.
Mm-mm.
I mean, like I think I'm just kind of the mindset, like personally, especially for my household. Yeah, like these are the specifications or set guidelines that are made by people who study diseases, right? And like, yeah, we don't know all the answers, but I rather err on the side of caution. Yeah, we still got COVID, and that was because our kid went to school with other people, and like it was like an exposure thing.
Mhm.
Again, like personal family. My mom was exposed to COVID because her caretaker was not vaccinated. So, like all these other exposures happen from other people. And yeah, we both work from home and we followed the guidelines and we still got COVID. But, who knows? Like, who knows what would have happened if we weren't vaccinated?
Yeah.
And I don't know that. And I don't think anybody would know that. But I just kind of feel like I'm gonna do what I'm told, like I'm not the expert. I'm not a scientist. I didn't peer review, study, do clinical trials. I didn't do any of that. So
Mhm.
I guess I just have a little bit more faith in the current system than I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But I mean, just what gives you that faith, right? Because I think that's a big issue that people are trying to find faith, right? Like, how I don't have faith in Dr. Fauci because the numerous times he's been proven wrong, right? Like, it's not like oh, people make mistakes, right? Almost every single item that he's made a statement on, he's been proven wrong on the flip side, right? Like the whole he started off the pandemic, nobody might mask do nothing. Okay, now you have to triple mask, right?
Well, technically, he said
First he
don't buy a
said
mask because healthcare workers weren't getting the mask
no,
that they
he
need
never
because
said that.
everybody.
Yeah, he
You
did.
can go look at his video and he says masks do nothing, don't buy the masks. Now later, 6 months later, he did say the only reason he said that was so that people didn't rush the mask and they disappeared like toilet paper, right? Like, he also started saying that we have to reach 70% to get herd immunity. Then it moved to 80, 90, and now his current statement is 98%. So even if you just follow him along this entire time, he has told you contradicting points and they contradict themselves constantly. So when you're trying to build faith and trust in what he's saying, that really hasn't built that faith in a lot of people.
Well, he
So
never
I think what
really.
a lot of it has to do with who is presenting the information. Like NJ says, the people who are actually studying it and doing trials, those are the people that we trust because those are also the same people that are going to say, look, here's the research I have, but here's how much we still don't know yet. They're not going to be the ones to say, yes, this is absolutely 100% correct. This is what you should do. This is what we're telling you to do. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I mean, all of that makes sense, right? So go back Fauci, right? If Fauci loses your confidence, right? And Fauci repeats what the CDC says, the CDC repeats what Fauci says. The FDA repeats what the CDC says, and the FCD repeated what Fauci says. So you can see that they're all working off the same data group, right? So if there's no contradicting opinions, then how can you build any trust in the situation?
Well, he never got a chance to build trust because he had a president who was constantly saying, "No, no, don't wear masks.
No,
No, don't,
no,
don't listen to
but
Fauci.
that
No,
but
no, the
again,
the pandemic isn't real."
but again, Biden and Kamala Harris said the exact same things when they were running, right? Kamala Harris is on record saying, "I would not take Trump's vaccine," right? So you can't blame the previous president for everything, right? I'm saying Fauci himself should be held accountable for what he said.
Well,
And the
it
things that he has said has contradicted other things that he has said.
well then the same should be said for previous President Trump. He said a lot of things that
I get
were
you, but we can't
contradictory
turn
to
every
what were being
conversation back to
shown.
Trump. Like, we have to move forward from Trump and say it's been 9 months of Dr. Fauci and Biden in the office.
Mhm.
Let's judge what we can off the last 9 months. The last 9 months, he's contradicted himself numerous times.
But we can't just judge it off the last 9 months. You have to take the entire portion of the pandemic into account. You can't just forget what happened. You know, history is there. We need to pay attention to history so we don't repeat it. Right now, we have a president and staff and everyone else who's
That does nothing. Yeah.
right now we have a president and a staff who's trying to promote vaccinations when everyone's already claiming fake news and everyone's already not trusting of what the president has to say. So
Again,
I think that
it
this
goes
can
back
actually
to
go
why
back a
would
little
you trust?
further.
But
Like,
why? So why would I trust Joe Biden when he has to say, when he literally looked into a camera and said, "I'm the problem"? Right? What the feelings you have of the previous president, you can't dismiss people's feelings of the current president because they're doing the same thing, right? You
mhm.
said that the previous president said the pandemic wasn't real, not to wear masks. Cool. The current president is saying, "Hey, the pandemic will never end because of you people. You're the problem."
Well, that's the only way he
Losing our
knows how to
patience with
address
you.
it. Yeah, that's this is why it goes down to we shouldn't have anyone older than a certain age running an office. You know, they clearly are not representing the people who are the majority in the country,
I
and
don't think it's the age. I think it's what I'm saying is the trust, and the current administration and Dr. Fauci have not built the trust with people. They have been very combative with people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Everything's for so that's the thing. When a government mandates something, how do they enforce that mandate? They send cops to your house with guns, right? Like that's where it comes down at the end. Like we can see what's happening in Australia where people were arrested for sneaking KFC into a hotel, right? The cops had it on the hood like it's a drug bust. You can look this up. There's pictures everywhere. And that's the point where we get if we continue to force and mandate everything. Force is only going to be returned with more force.
Seems like we have to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, a lot of unknowns, right? You know, a lot of unknowns about the vaccine, about, you know, and especially Dr. Fauci, you know, yeah, he has said contradicting things. And oh God, all I can think about is like, I am so glad I don't have his job. Because can you imagine, like, a whole pandemic happens, right? You have a nation of billions of people, and you're in a spicy time in history, is the only piece, like, way I could describe it. A spicy time in history where there's so much division already. And then a pandemic hits, and we don't know anything about it. We don't even know the origin. You know, still to this day, 2 years, we don't really know the facts, right? But I would hate to have his job. 100%. I would
Mhm.
hate to have his job because everything that you do is scrutinized, and it should be. You should be held accountable for the way that you lead. You are in this position to lead the American people and our safety. So if what you say is wrong and is detrimental to the overall public health, then yeah, you should be held accountable. But at the same time, like I
Well, that
also
wraps.
Sorry, that was my
but
bad.
it's okay. But at the same time, you know, like I said, I've said this before. I'm a rule follower. You know, I will, if this is what the CDC is saying, if this is what scientists who are actually studying this are saying, and there's a lot of conflicting information out there, I feel like that's the path that I will follow. But you have to make that choice for yourself.
And don't forget to
And
join our
I think the
amazing supportive
individual choice is important. And I think that's where the other side is kind of expressing their frustration, is that they don't have a choice.
The best argument I've heard, right, is we should start treating this the way we want the government to treat the obesity problem.
Well,
in the
that
United
wraps
States,
up-
right.
Sorry, this audio keeps playing. I'm killing it. Sorry, go ahead.
So in the United States, our number one health issue is obesity and heart problems, right? They all stem. So how would we want to react, the government to react to the obesity problem compared to the health problem? Like this is another health problem, right? Let's put them in categories. How would we want them to react to that? Do we want them to mandate surgeries for people? Do we want to mandate diets? Moving
know.
forward, I think we should look at it all of our health, if we allow them to mandate and make issues into one health issue, what's going to stop them from branching to others? The other major one in the United States is obesity.
So, okay, I have thoughts about this because NJ and I actually saw a TikTok earlier.
It's been a big thing going around, yeah.
So, there's a TikTok earlier about this girl or this guy, this child, this high school child, being escorted along with the rest of their class out of the school that is currently in a shooting situation with an active shooter on campus. And you know, once we actually got kind of thinking about it, and like I actually like put some serious thought into it, it's not a gun issue. It's not a access issue. It's more along the lines of a mental health issue, and this is a result of decades of
And poverty issue,
ignorance.
too.
Yeah, and a poverty issue too. It's a mental health and a poverty issue, and the same can be
They
said
all
for people
drive
who
mental
are
health issues, yeah.
yeah. Obesity can also be tied to a mental health issue where someone eats to cope. You know,
Yeah.
shit like that is real, and instead of treating the problem, instead of treating the reaction to the symptom, thank you, treat the actual problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a great point. I mean, because for, you know, how you feel about our former president, he did inflame mental health problems a lot of people were having, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I see a lot of the same people are having issues now. So what do we do, right? And I think the pushing of othering people is only going to make that even worse.
I have one mandate, and it's my only mandate. Government mandated therapy. Everyone should do therapy once in their life. Just saying.
Yeah.
Wait, do you actually agree with me on this mandate?
I'm
Wait,
not against.
Wait, really?
But if there's one thing, mandating people talk to each other is not something bad. It's when you start mandating people can't talk to each other is when we have problems.
Okay.